Hey everybody, Derek here to bring another video for The Walking Dead, Season 7. Hard to believe that this upcoming Sunday, the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead Season 7 will air. It just seems like yesterday that the Season 7 premiere began the season, and we've already gone through 7 episodes, and it's just hard to believe. I think that Walking Dead has definitely given us a lot to look at over the last 7 episodes. It's been a little bit of a rough season, but hopefully the mid-season finale will prove to be excellent and that it will set up some events for what will happen in the later half of Season 7 in February. But most of my videos this week are going to be looking at the mid-season finale, analyzing certain things about it. And this particular video was given, the idea itself was actually given to me by a friend. Her name is Theressa. I want to thank you, Theressa, for coming up with this idea. It's definitely something that I think could happen in the episode after I heard it explained. And I would like to share that with you, as well as why I think it's very possible. And the topic is, will Negan take Judith back to the sanctuary with him at the end of the mid-season finale? If you are not caught up with The Walking Dead and you do not want to be spoiled in any way, then I suggest you exit the video now and come back later, because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay, so what are some hints that maybe seem to indicate that something like this might happen? Well, number one is the end of the episode of Sing Me a Song. This previous episode, we saw Negan meet Judith for the very first time. I don't think Negan was aware of Judith's he didn't know she existed until he saw her in this episode. Carl was taking Negan around the house. Negan walked in, saw Judith in the crib, and just took an immediate liking to her. I mean, obviously he knew that this was Rick's daughter, and I think in many ways, I think that this is the first time that Negan has seen a baby since the zombie apocalypse started. I don't think that the sanctuary is really the place for children to be, for them to be raised. And I think that's for many reasons. Number one, I think it has to do with the environment, the way that the Saviors are, just the setup of the community. I don't think they really have the patience or the resources to really take care of children. I didn't see any. So I think that in many ways, Negan looked at Judith and was like, wow, this is the first time I've seen a baby since this zombie apocalypse has started. But I think that there are other reasons which I will explain later in the video as to why I think he might do this, but I think that's one. Just his immediate, look at Judith makes it seem like he is very interested and he does have some kind of plan. I don't think that he's going to hurt her. I don't think that he would be that sick to do something like that. I mean, I know we've seen Negan do terrible things, but I don't see him as somebody who would cause Judith harm. I think it's more that he would threaten that harm and use Judith in a way to make Rick and Carl submit to him. If you look at a scene in the trailer for the mid-season finale, you see this look of horror on Rick's face. I mean, you just see, we've seen this look on Rick's face sort of ever since the episode Season 7 premiere when we saw Negan break Rick. We've seen that look many times, but I think that this particular look that you're seeing right here is perhaps the most severe that we have ever seen Rick look in regards to sadness, just utter hopelessness. And I get the feeling that what's happening in this scene, obviously Rick has come back. I'm assuming that what's going to happen is Rick and Aaron's supply run will not go well. I don't think it's going to go well at all. And I think they're going to come back empty-handed. The stuff that Spencer gives over just isn't going to be enough. Plus, I think Spencer's going to screw everything up, which is going to result in Negan killing him, I think. And I think that Negan's going to want to punish Rick. And I think that in many ways, he might be like, hey, I asked you to bring me something interesting, and you had something interesting behind these walls the whole time, Judith. And I think that he really is interested, and he might say, hey, look, I'll just take Judith. I'm going to take her back with me. This is what I'm interested in. And you know what, Rick, bring me something better next time. Maybe we can talk differently. I could see him doing that in a sense of making Rick want to work harder for Negan, that maybe Negan doesn't think that what Rick is going to present to him is going to be good enough. So, in a sense, this is going to be a punishment for Rick and the rest of the community by taking Judith. And I think that's very likely that that might happen. But part of me also thinks, and this was also an idea that was given to me during this discussion, I think that there are other reasons potentially why Negan would take Judith. And I don't think that it's necessarily just to punish Rick. If you notice with Negan, and the fact that just in this episode, we were introduced to the fact that he has more than just one wife. That's a comic book element to Negan that we didn't know if it was part of Negan because we'd only seen Sherry when we were first introduced to the Sanctuary. But it is confirmed that Negan does have multiple wives. And, obviously you saw back in episode 3 that Sherry took a pregnancy test. She actually took a pregnancy test and it came up negative. And I think that in many ways, Sherry was happy about that. I don't think that she wants to be carrying Negan's children. But the fact that Negan is not practicing safe relationships, if you will, safe physical relationships in the zombie apocalypse, makes me think that he does want to have children. I think that he himself is actually planning on creating a family of his own. And I think that there are multiple reasons why he would do that. I think that that is his one of other goal of taking Judith, is that he wants to be able to start this family potentially. So what I think he might be doing is taking Judith back, letting the wives take care of her, maybe growing towards the idea of maybe them becoming mothers themselves, and then that way maybe it would warm them up to the idea a little bit more. I think that's what Negan is really thinking at this point as well. And I think that you also saw in the interactions that Negan had with Carl in the last episode, I think that Negan does one day want a son, sons, daughters. I don't think he'd be opposed to having multiple children to take over when he passes on. I think that's really what Negan is looking at, is he is looking at a legacy like many other individuals in, history have done, sometimes through a succession of heirs to the throne. You see a lot of these kingdoms in Europe and Asia and other nations that the way that people, in a sense, continue their legacy is to let their children start from where they were at when they died and continue the kingdom, continue the name. I think that's what Negan really wants. Because I think that if he doesn't have anybody to leave, then I think that what's going to end up happening is Negan is concerned that this power that he has had, this power that he has over people, the fact that people look up to him, I would almost say like a god, if you will. I don't like to necessarily use that kind of phrasing, but these people really look at Negan like he's one of them. And I think that what Negan fears is that when he dies, that's going to go away. There's not going to be people that would remember him. I think that somebody else would step up, take the same role as Negan. Negan would be pushed out, and then there would be no legacy. So I think that Negan really does want to have children. And I think that through his interactions with Carl, you kind of saw, in a sense, maybe what Negan would do as a father, how he would raise his children, how he would mold them and prepare them for taking on his legacy. And I think that's what he wants. And I think that that would really be one of the reasons why he would take Judith, I think, is to start his family. It's, in a sense, something that he wants to do. And I think that's his goal. I think that's why he would do that. Now, another thing, how is that going to go? I don't think well. I could honestly see that Negan taking Judith is going to be the one thing that would catapult the war against the Saviors. Because in the comic books, you have to remember that Judith is dead. Sadly, she died back at the prison along with Lori. So she doesn't play a factor in the comic books, but in the TV show, I just don't think that what happened in the last episode was a mistake. I think that really Judith, I think, is going to be the last straw that finally gets Rick to realize he can't bend anymore. He can't deal with this. And it makes you wonder if other elements might come together. Again, you never know if Michonne might come back, see what's going on, might initiate some kind of rescue. Rosita might take this opportunity to use the bullet that Eugene made for her. But I just don't see a situation where Negan walks out the door with Judith and nothing happens. Quite frankly, I think that if Negan decides he's going to take Judith, it's finally going to be the one thing that makes Rick say no. That ultimately, I think that he would attack, somebody would attack. I think that somebody would do something to stop this from happening. And as a result, I think that that is going to be what starts the war against the Saviors. It's going to force Rick and the others to realize we fought back. Negan and his people are going to be coming. We need to have a plan. And I really think that that might be what happens. You know, I don't know how many people Negan brought with him when he came to Alexandria this time. I didn't see any more than, I think, 6 or 7. I could be wrong about that. There could be many more. But I think that this would be a perfect opportunity to strike at Negan. And I think the goal would be to take him out. But I don't think that's going to happen either. So I think that somehow, some way, there's going to be an attack that's going to happen as a result of Negan doing this. And I think that you're going to see that Judith is going to be the reason that Alexandria fights back. And at that point, Negan's going to get away, I think. And then I think that they have no choice at this point. You know, I think we're going to be left with a big cliffhanger of one of two things. There is a good chance that Negan might still get away with Judith. There is a very good chance that that might happen. But there's also a chance that he might not do that. But no matter what, I think that Negan's going to get away. And by getting away, you know, I think that he's going to start to make his way back towards the sanctuary. And at that point, the time that, you know, the timer is going. You know, it's really that Rick's group is going to have to figure out what they're going to do next, because there is no peace at this point. They know that they've overstepped the boundaries that Negan has set for them. And I think that that's going to be what results in all of this happening. I think it's going to eventually lead to these communities coming together, preparing for battle, and we're going to see that happen in the last half of Season 7. That's what I think is going to happen. I'm very interested to see if it will come true, if this is what's going to happen, or if they have something else in mind. With that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a very wonderful evening, and thank you all very much for watching.